Before we dive into this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to her YouTube channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from me. Never thought my uncle was watching me, and I never imagined I would find myself in such an awkward and uncomfortable relationship. It was one of those lazy afternoons. The house was quiet and I had some time to myself, which was a rare treat. My uncle had come to visit us for a few days, and while I was happy to see him, I didn't expect him to be around. At that moment, I thought he had probably gone out to the local market to buy some fruits and vegetables or to visit Afrianerby. That's why I felt safe and cozy in the privacy of my room, enjoying the peace all by myself. I was lost in my thoughts, thinking about what I wanted to do next. Maybe I would read a book or play with some toys. The possibilities felt endless, and I was excited to spend the afternoon doing. Little did I know that everything was about to change. Most significantly, I had heard people talk about growing up, but I never really thought about what it would feel like. Everything seemed new and exciting. My skin felt softer, and certain parts of me seemed to be growing faster than others. It was like my body whistling me things I didn't yet understand, and my curiosity kept growing along with it. I was so excited to learn more about these changes that were happening one day. As I lay on my bed, I started touching my arm, feeling how smooth it was. It seemed harmless, just a little curiosity. But then my hand moved almost on its own to other parts of my body. I wasn't thinking too much about what I was doing. It was just a natural quietment with myself. My fingertips brushed against places I hadn't paid attention to beforehand. I felt a tingle. It was an odd, exciting feeling. I kept going, wondering why it made me feel that way. As I touched my growing body, the feelings became stronger. I didn't fully understand what was happening, but it felt nice, and I couldn't stop. I was in my own space, enjoying the soft, gentle touches. My heart was racing with excitement. I touched new places on my body and felt a wonderful tingling sensation. It was an unusual but delightful feeling, and I kept exploring me growing body, feeling the sensations become stronger. I didn't fully understand what was happening, but it felt amazing, and I couldn't stop. I was in my own space, enjoying the soft, gentle touches on my heart. My heart was beating a little faster, but it didn't feel wrong. It just felt different. I was excited to explore my own body like this and discover what it could feel like. I didn't even know that someone else might be watching, which added to the thrill of the experience. I closed my eyes, sinking deeper into the warm, peaceful feeling of being alone with myself. I felt safe and secure, and I was delighted to be all by myself. I let my mind drift, lost in these sensations, and it was incredible. I didn't hear footsteps or the creak of the door. I had no idea that my uncle might be standing nearby watching me from the shadows. For a while, it was just me exploring, learning about my body in a way I hadn't done before. I didn't think about whether it was right or wrong because I didn't even know enough to ask those questions. It was just me, my thoughts, and the strange new feelings that were filling my body. I had no idea that in those private moments when I thought no one was around, my uncle was secretly watching me. I didn't know he had been standing there. His thought I was all alone. I didn't even imagine that some uncle would be spying on me, especially my uncle. I was completely lost in my little world, unaware of anything happening outside my room. But then something happened that sent a chill down my spine. I heard a creak. The sound was soft, beaten the silence of the house. It was loud enough to make my heart jump. My eyes flew open, and for a split second, I froze, not knowing what to do. My body reacted before my mind could catch up. I grabbed the blanket and quickly pulled it over myself, trying to hide. My heart was racing so fast, it felt like it might burst out of my chest. I couldn't breathe. I lay there, my whole body tense, and I slowly looked towards the door, terrified of what I might see. If you're still tuned into this video and find the story inspiring, drop a 1 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And there he was, my uncle, standing at the door staring at me. His eyes were wide and his face looked strange, almost frozen. He wasn't saying anything, just staring. He looked at me in a way that made me feel uncomfortable. My skin tingled, and it was like the air in the room suddenly became thick. I felt trapped under his gaze. Was he looking at me like that? How long had he been standing there? I was filled with questions, but I couldn't find any answers. All I knew was that I felt exposed, embarrassed, and scared all at the same time. My uncle, someone I thought he could trust, had seen me in a way no one was. I had never imagined I would see uncle in such a situation. I was so surprised that I gasped, trying to act like everything was fine, even though my heart was pounding and my hands were shaking. I tried to make my voice sound normal, but I could hear the tremble in it, and I knew he could too. I had been caught, and there was no hiding it. My face felt hot, and my mind was spinning, trying to figure out what to do next. But my uncle didn't say anything. He just stood there, staring at me with this weird, unsettling look on his face. His eyes were locked on me, and it made Madam feels so live, I could feel my stomach twisting with extent. I couldn't stop wondering asterisk why is. He's standing there asterisk, how long has he been watching me? The thought made me feel jitty inside. My mind was filled with questions, but no answers came. Why are you looking at me like that? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I was too excited to speak any louder. He felt so live. At the same time, I was getting angry. Why was he watching me like this? Didn't he know it was wrong? I thought he was supposed to be someone I could trust, but now I felt betrayed. What kind of person stands there spying on someone you shouldn't be doing that? He finally said, but his voice wasn't normal either. It was low, almost a whisper, and there was something strange in it. I couldn't tell if it was shame, guilt, or something else that I didn't even want to think about. His words felt he was sheevy, like he was ready to scold me, but there was something darker in his tone, something that made my skin cruel. I couldn't look him in the eye anymore. My head was spinning, my emotions bouncing between shame, fear, and anger. Why didn't it leave? Why didn't he say anything sooner? Why was he even watching me in the first place? I just wanted the ground to swallow me up, so I didn't have to face him anymore. I felt so small, so exposed, and I didn't know what to do next. He just stood there watching me. He wasn't moving at all. His eyes were still fixed on me. That's when the real fear hit me. My heart started beating even faster, and I could feel my whole body tense up. What was he going to do? A sizes, what was he going to do? The question kept echoing in my mind. I felt trapped. It was like being a small animal caught by a bigger, scarier one with nowhere to run. I didn't know what to do or say. I couldn't think straight for as long as I could remember. I had always seen my uncle as part of the family. He was someone I thought I could trust, someone who was supposed to look out for me, but in that moment, standing there, staring at me like that, he didn't feel like the same person anymore. He felt like a stranger, someone I didn't know, and it made me feel even more excited to see what would happen next. I had never seen him like this, and I was really curious about what he was thinking. I wanted to say something to make him stop looking at me like that, but the words wouldn't come. All I could always lie there, frozen, waiting to see what would happen next. My uncle gently closed the door behind him, the soft click of the lock making me feel even more trapped. He didn't leave, but instead stepped further into the room and slowly sat down on the edge of the bed. My heart was still racing, and I was filled with anticipation. I watched him carefully, my eyes wide and full of questions. He looked at me for a moment, this face calm, like nothing strange had just happened. We were both silent, just staring at each other. Then finally he spoke. You've grown into a beautiful young lady. His words felt strange at first, but part of me wanted to believe him. Hearing someone say I was beautiful made me feel good, even though everything else felt so confusing. His voice was calm, and the way he said it almost made me feel safe. It was as if he wasn't upset with me for what had just happened. At that moment, the tension in the room seemed to melt away. I didn't feel scared anymore, and the warmth of his words made me feel like everything would be okay, but deep down I still felt a little unsure. Something about the whole situation didn't seem right, but I pushed those thoughts away, wanting to believe that I was safe. As he sat there, my body started to the fear I had felt earlier was slowly fading away, and I began to feel more at ease. Then my uncle leaned in a little closer and asked me in a quiet, conspirational tone, do you think Wes'll have some fun? His words hung in the air, and for a moment I didn't know what to think. My mind was confused, but my body reacted differently. There was a strange feeling inside me, like a temptation pulling me in, and I didn't understand it. My body felt warm antingly, and it was as if it was willing to give in, even though my thoughts were spinning with confusion. It was as if my body was responding to him, reacting in a way I had texted. I couldn't explain it, but the emotions were there, strong, drawing me toward my uncle. It didn't make sense, and yet I found myself excited and tempted to follow what he was suggesting. I'd been exploring my body on my own, feeling things I didn't fully understand, but when my uncle came in, everything changed. At this time, he was there watching me, and I got this amazing idea that maybe if someone else was touching me, it would feel even better. It was such a strange idea, but it made me feel excited. I gave my uncle a clue, but I didn't say anything. My actions spoke for him, though, and it was like I was silent, letting him. I was willing to let him join me. I wasn't, but it was still a really fun idea. I did it well at that moment. I just knew he wanted to see what it would be like with someone else. My uncle gently lifted the high blanket, and I could see his eyes widen, surprised as he took in how much I had grown. It felt like time had flown by, and he was no longer that little kid he said to play. With a warm smile spread across his face, and he exclaimed, wow, you've grown up. His words filled me with a mix of emotions. It was so nice to hear that he noticed the changes in me. We're incredible. He gently placed his hand on my shoulder, and at that moment I could feel his pride and happiness. It was a comforting gesture, and It made me feel special. We shared a tender moment and I could sense a deep connection between us. It felt like we were both acknowledging how much I had changed and how important our bond was. My uncle and I had a moment that felt strange and exciting. He gently took off our clothes and looked at each other. I was nervous but also so ready for what was about to happen. I could feel his warmth next to me in my heart was racing. When we finally came together, if you were still tuned to this video and find the story inspiring, drop a 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. It felt like something special was beginning, like a magical moment had arrived. Just for us, we moved slowly like dancers in a beautiful story, learning about each other in a way we had never done before. My heart raced with excitement and I felt butterflies in my stomach, like when you're about to go on a fun adventure. We're on an incredible adventure. It felt like we were discovering a whole new world. We were filled with curiosity and every touch felt like a gentle spark lighting up our hearts. It was a little scary but also warm and comforting. It was like wrapping yourself in a soft blanket on a chilly day. At that moment, nothing else in the world mattered. All the worries and noises around us faded away, and we were completely absorbed in the moment. It was just us two side by side, feeling a deep connection. We shared smiles and whispers, feeling like we were in our secret place where only we belonged. It was a moment we would always remember, a time when everything felt right and full of love. After a while, when we had to leave the room, we took a deep breath and got dressed, trying to look like nothing had happened, like nothing had happened. We looked at each other and smiled, keeping our secret safe. It felt like a little adventure we had shared, and we both understood that it was something special. When we walked out of the room, everything felt normal again. We talked and laughed like we always did, making silly jokes and teasing each other. It was as if that moment was just a dream, but we both knew it was real. From that day on, we carried our secret with us, and it made our bond even stronger. We knew we could trust each other with anything, and that made our friendship feel extra special. No matter what happens, we will always have that moment to remember, hidden away like a treasure in our hearts.